Hi everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode. Today I'm going to share my crocheting and knitting updates with you all. I hope you all had a wonderful Canada Day and are enjoying the summer weather. Currently it's super hot here, so not ideal for crochet blanket making, but I have an exciting new project that I have swapped to share with you all. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first item I have to show here is a finished blanket. It is my shells blanket. I think this is like the biggest blanket I've ever made. Okay, so get ready. Look at this. It just keeps going. It used so many balls of yarn. If you ever want to get rid of yarn, this is a great pattern to make. You see, already it's making me very hot having it on me. So I used here, let's get the border showing too. That's a single crochet foundation border and then just 2 half double crochet rows. And then the body of the blanket, this is just the shell stitch. So it's so easy to make. And it works up super fast because all the shells, of course, are just clusters of double crochet stitches and then single crochet. So that's really all that you need to know for the shell stitch. And it just turns out so lovely. It is perfect for the beach season because here where we live on Vancouver Island, we're always going to the beach now this time of year and swimming and such. So it's just so fun to work on kind of a shell themed blanket at the same time. And then you can see here the corner and the corner, I do 3 single crochet in my foundation, and then there is each corner stitch a half double crochet, chain 2 half double crochet, and that's just how I did it. And of course this is just the free pattern that's available on my blog, pleasantcrochet.ca. It's just the sandy shells blanket. The only difference with this one is I not casted on, see now I'm getting confused because I've learned how to knit. Big updates on that coming. But I chained more stitches, so it's just a bit wider, which is why I used, let's actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 7 balls of yarn it took for the body, and then maybe about 50, no not 50, like 25 grams or so for the border, so not too much, but definitely the shell stitch I would say is a yarn eating stitch. Like, it uses a lot of yarn, which is good if you're trying to de-stash, but see, it only got that much thickness, so it makes, although I used Stylecraft Special DK, which is relatively light, but definitely if you made this out of like a cotton or something, it could get quite heavy, this stitch, because it is a lot of yarn. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I like using the acrylic because then I can just throw this in the wash, which is great because Nancy likes to sleep on my blankets if I put them on my bed, and she can be like dirty or sandy. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say, and definitely check out my blog for the free post. I'll post some images of this one. The other one I had was kind of a Halloween themed one, and these colors are more just kind of fun, like ice cream candy shop almost. They're kind of a random mixture. This one is my favorite, like this tangerine orange sun. That's so pretty. And yeah, I think that's it. So like I said, it's been hot, so it's not as cozy working on a blanket in the summer heat, but I definitely like it in the evenings. It's a perfect evening project, maybe just not like hot summer afternoon project. But that's it, so let's move on to the next thing. So okay, last episode I was in the midst of learning how to knit, and I have made big progress after lots of swatching and many hours of bad swatches and frogging, and hence why I only have one finished blanket to show with you, because I was definitely on a knitting mission to try to master that, and definitely not mastered, very far from mastered, so that will take many years, but I know the basics and can now knit socks somewhat adequately, let's just say that. So without further ado, I will show you the finished socks that I have made. We have 3 socks. So as you can see, I abandoned the pairs mission because I realized that that was not going to work in my favor, just because my gauge and stuff was all off, so I couldn't really measure that well. But this one was using, so this is my DK sock, and this was using DK yarn. And so to learn how to do the socks, I followed a tutorial by the Crazy Sock Lady. This was her DK sock pattern, and I did the medium size, so I believe in her video it's 64 stitches I casted on. And then it's definitely great, her YouTube tutorial videos, because it walks you through how to do the whole thing, and I just kept rewatching each part, and by my 3rd sock, I think I can do it without the video now, but definitely having the video as the go-to when I was learning how to do the heel and stuff was like beyond helpful. But yeah, that was the Crazy Sock Lady, if you want to check her out. And I did the classic heel flap and gusset. So this was just a slip stitch heel. And then yeah, just the toe decreases, and then it uses the Kitchener stitch, I believe, to close that up. And this yarn is from the Knitting Loft. It's just a superwash merino yarn, so it doesn't have nylon in it, which is not ideal for like stretching out, but like I said, like this sock is kind of much too big, to be honest, but I was more, my goal was to finish the socks, not necessarily wear them around. So this was my 3rd sock, so my best sock for sure. And this was my 1st sock. As you can see, it's more of a loungy reading sock because it's definitely quite large. And this, oh, I forgot to mention that, okay, so for this, the beginning I just did straight to knitting in the round, and that gives the like stockinette pattern, whereas these I did knit 2, purl 2 to get the ribbing to hold up the sock. And I definitely quite, at first I was a little unsure how to do the ribbing, but then once I realized it was literally just knit 2, purl 2, it's so cool to see it come together. And I had tried that on, this was my 2nd sock, so definitely an improvement from the 1st one, so we were making progress. And this was the 2nd sock, and these are all heel flap and gusset. My goal is just to master the heel flap and gusset technique before venturing into like German short rows and stuff, because I definitely want to try that, because I got, okay, well, I'll finish up talking about this. Well, actually, I think I'm done. Like, they're not the greatest socks. They're fine. They took longer than they should have. Many hours, let's just say that. But I'm super stoked that they're done, and I've gotten, they're such a great summer project, so I've gotten super into that. So these are all, of course, when I was learning to knit. So here, like, sampling swatches, so many hours put into sampling swatches, like learning my tension. And then here are some failed socks. This was just with some sock yarn and learning the ribbing. And this is 80-20 yarn I used. So this is traditional sock, more like sock yarn, which is definitely better for wearing, and I can totally see how it fits better and the stretch is nicer. But yeah, so I'm just practicing that and having fun, and hopefully I'll gradually get better at it. So I was super inspired by my socks progress. So now let's shift into a little acquisition segment. And I got this is why I want to learn that new heel technique. I've got Joyful Colorwork Socks by Charlotte Stone. Gonna be honest, this cover really got me. Those cat socks are so cute. Like, this is, considering I just learned how to do the knits and purls, and like I don't know about the color work yet, but yeah, it's in the future I would love to try out that pattern, because when I was learning how to knit, I taught myself to do the continental knitting and the English style throwing method. So I'm hoping that I can practice that so that I can do both techniques and hold both colors in both hands. So that'll make the color work less like twisty perhaps. I'm not totally sure, I'll have to try that out, but I definitely prefer the continental knitting style. That's kind of my go-to now, because like people say it's similar to crocheting, and I definitely found that I picked it up a bit faster in terms of like having even tensioning, so that was great. And I'm like pretty slow, but maybe after a while I'll get faster, we'll have to see. But yeah, definitely check out her work, Charlotte Stone's colorful socks, because they're just so cute. And while we're in the midst of this acquisition segment, I show you some yarn I got from, well, we'll start with the needles. This is the Knitting Loft in Toronto. It's a great store in Canada for sourcing like supplies and fiber, and they were having a sale, so I basically had to because there was a sale. But I got these needles to make a hat, because I got the Muscle Burrow hat that I want to try, and this is the 3.5 millimeter, and this is the 16 inch, so that I can make the hat on this. I attempted it on the magic loop, and I started using the magic loop to make it, but it was just kind of, I was getting the laddering in it, because I'm not super good at it yet. It was a lot of fussing and it was going to take a while, so I wanted to try on this first, and then I'll try to make maybe a hat on the magic loop, because the magic loop is, like, I'm getting better at it, but for now I think that it'll be more exciting to start on these. And then, of course, I had to get the yarn for the hat, obviously. So I got these two DK yarns. So the first one is Frosted Sprinkles, and this is just kind of a fun like tie-dye almost effect. I don't know if these are focusing. And then the other one here is called Felix, and both of these it's called the Cheeky DK, and it's the Knitting Loft house brand, and this is 100% merino superwash wool. And they're just so gorgeous and so soft. And I've tried knitting some samples with their yarn before, and with my sock, and it's so lovely to work with. See, this one reminded me of mint chocolate chip ice cream, which is my absolute favorite ice cream. And then this is kind of like Fruit Loops almost. And so I definitely love that. And then I got some sock yarn too, some fingering yarn. So I got this one in Pixie, and these are all 80-20, and it's 100 gram 354 meters, so I'm hoping that I can definitely get a pair of socks, maybe like 3 socks out of each of the fingering ones, so then I can have 3 pairs. And then this one, Blue Water Beach, is the name of this one. Again, like this speckling effect in the yarn. Okay, that's okay. You can kind of see, but the speckling effect in the yarn is my favorite effect, because it kind of like gives you instant gratification as you're knitting it to have the color changes, and then like the secret speckles all around, and you don't know the exact pattern that's going to come out. I really like that. And then this, of course, like is my favorite color, this mint green. So yeah, I'm super stoked about those. And I have a ball winder and Swift that I'll have to get these balled up so I can get started on my next socks and hat. And for my next socks, I started them a few days ago, and I'll show you here. This is a bag that I sewed recently. It just has little knitting creatures on it, which is so cute. And of course my kind of favorite colors again, which is the minty green. But I am learning how to do, oh, this was another side quest project I have going here. This is, gonna be honest, probably will never finish this because I started to realize how much more knitting I had to do on it. But this was mainly to practice my increases, like make ones, and then also my stockinette. But this is just a little shawl. It's called the Boneyard shawl, and it's gonna be much bigger, but this is with a DK yarn. And then I have a little cow stitch stopper. But yeah, this is a DK yarn. It's lovely yarn by the Dandy Doe Studio. Hers is all hand dyed. We got this at a yarn festival in May, and that was such a fun event to go to. It was just like local vendors, and it was packed. There was so many like fiber artists, and so cool to see all the different yarns. But we got this, and my mom and I are making the matching shawl. So maybe if she finishes hers, I'll get inspired and want to finish mine. But I haven't touched this in a few weeks. But I'm not going to rip it out. I think that I'll come back to it because it's really good for practicing the stockinette, like the back and forth with that. But for my next socks, I got the little shorty needles. And this is so instead of the magic loop, these are just on the 9-inch circulars. So this is just my ribbing that's been done. You can see there. And then I'm now going to stockinette. And these of course are all the same pattern by the Crazy Sock Lady, so the top down with heel flap and gusset, because that's the only one I know how to do, and like I said, I'm just going to try to get good at that first before trying to get too complicated. But this is a learning curve. It's not the easiest to work on the little shorty needles, so I'm kind of figuring out how to do it, and because I have quite large hands, so I don't think that helps. But after spending a few hours and now this, I'm thinking that it definitely is faster than the magic loop without the constant twisting and pulling out of the cable. At first I was going to stick with the magic loop, but I'm kind of really enjoying this. Granted, I have not gotten to the heel part yet, so we'll see how I enjoy that on the shorties. I suppose I could maybe switch to magic loop for that. Like the Crazy Sock Lady has a video tutorial on that, which at this stage I'm just gonna follow exactly what she does in that for this. But what I really like about this is that there's no, because I still get the laddering down the middle when I do the magic loop, whereas this I don't have that. So I really want to try to train my hands to work with these needles. I find that my tension is a bit looser though, so that's another point that I have to work on, and maybe size down in the sock, or I could size down in the shorty needles, but I'm gonna avoid doing that because I don't want to buy another pair of the shorty needles right now. So I think for now this is fine. I'll just roll with the loose tension, and it's better to have it too loose, I think, than too tight. Because I'd rather my sock be bigger and more of like a cozy home sock than having a too small sock that I just can't wear. But yeah, so I think that's everything I share, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video, and keep enjoying summer and keep knitting and crocheting. Bye guys!